Third Phase Moon, Blake Cousins, welcome back everybody from around the world. We have special guests today, Corey Goode, in regards to the DIA, which basically confirmed recently that exotic propulsion papers corroborating the inside testimony on warp drive and wormhole travel exist. Now we have Corey Goode, and I want to get his statements in regards to how he was able to obtain this top secret document. Recently, you've had a breakthrough in regards to the FOA and the newly disclosed documents that show that our government had a secret program developing exotic aircraft involving warp drive and other extraordinary tech. Can you tell us exactly how you obtained the info and what can we take away from this?
I can tell you that it was through an alliance contact, and this was a person who I would say printed this out themselves. It did not pass through any other hands before I received it, but that's about as specific as I can get, because I would like to receive more.
What's recently happened is that the Defense Intelligence Agency responded to a Freedom of Information Act request that was put in by the Federation of American Scientists, asking for confirmation about a list of 38 Defense Intelligence reference documents that was leaked, and that the US Congress allegedly had wanted information about this. So the Defense Intelligence Agency was confirming that this list actually was real, that these studies had been commissioned by the Defense Intelligence Agency going as far back as 2007, which is when the Advanced Aerial Threat Identification Program was launched. And so that basically began a process by which different organizations began to put together feasibility studies on exotic technologies like warp drive, like traversable wormholes, using dark matter, and things like telepathy and quantum teleportation. So these were advanced exotic propulsion systems that were being studied by these different organizations.
So now that the DIA admits the program existed, how does this corroborate everything that you've been talking about these many years?
Well, what the Defense Intelligence Agency confirmation that this list actually was genuine, that it covered these advanced propulsion technologies that had been secretly studied going all the way back to 2007. What it did was that it confirmed that this was actually real scientific investigation into these exotic propulsion systems, and it was a feasibility study that showed that they were possible. Now, this was important because there have been a number of whistleblowers, insiders such as Corey Goode, who say that they were part of secret space programs that were actually utilizing some of these propulsion technologies, such as warp drive, such as traversable wormholes, being able to tap into the quantum flux. So, tapping into 0-point energy. So this was confirmation for some of these claims that Corey Goode and others had been making, that such technologies were feasible and secret space programs could use these technologies. Now, what made this DIA confirmation especially relevant was that Corey Goode was actually the first person to actually leak the existence of these papers. Back in December of 2017, he leaked two of these papers, one dealing with traversable wormholes and the other one dealing with warp drive technologies. No one had ever heard of these papers before. He had gotten these papers from an insider, presumably someone working within the Defense Intelligence Agency, and he leaked this to the public. And then later on, the public started to learn about the existence of this advanced aerospace technology identification program, that this was actually in existence. And so that they actually were doing these kinds of feasibility studies to try and understand the behaviors of some of the UFOs. So this was something Corey Goode leaked, and it's confirmation that Corey Goode has access to a genuine insider with this kind of information. So I think the DIA confirming this list of 38 papers dealing with these exotic technology propulsion systems was actually a very big boost to the authenticity of Corey Goode as an insider who has legitimate information on secret space programs.
What kind of technology are in these exotic craft? What did they mean when they speak of wormhole tech? Is there ET involvement?
I think so. I think that they're trickling out information to prepare the public for the release of some of these advanced technologies. Not all of them. They'll show us, anti-gravity type things at first and explain it all. It all makes total sense. It's a shame that we just discovered it. We could have discovered it in the time of Tesla, but they really did. And they'll try to make it sound like this is a new program, when actually they're using Space Force to aggregate all of these other programs under one moniker, and give a healthy platform for them to be able to let this information out. If they're going to disclose this information, some people are going to have some hard questions, and they're going to have to do it in a patriotic sort of way, I believe, from not only my opinion, but from the many connections I've made. And this isn't only my opinion, this is the opinion of many of the Alliance people that I have conversations with on a regular basis.
So far, 3 of the papers on the 38 documents list have been leaked to the public. When do you think we'll actually see the other 35 papers?
Dr. Salla and a few others are working to do freedom of information requests to get the other documents released. I'm told one of them will not be released because it does contain classified information about high-powered laser systems. But the others, we believe that we will be able to have released through FOIA requests. Now, I'm also working the back channels. Originally, before I was given these 2 studies, I was given actual manuals that were mind-blowing. They talked about wormholes, stargates, and the same types of technology, but they were talking about it from an electroplasmic physics universe, not this classical physics that are in these studies that I did release. I was asked to not release these others, to hold on to them to the proper time, and one of them was stolen from me. I've told the story before. I took them to be authenticated, and it was at an old pawn shop, and a person ended up pulling a pistol on me and telling me that I wasn't going to leave with the document, and they took it. And then later on, the other 2 that I was given were taken out of my home. So it was probably less than 2 months after that happened that this contact gave me these. And I think when they handed it to me, they expected a better, or I guess, more of a reaction. I looked at them and I just kind of snickered, because they were very similar to the books I'd received before, but they were a lot less detailed and had more of the classical physics type of terminology and equations in it. But it was great to have that to be able to release after going through what I did before. But I really wish I had those other manuals to release. And I was told that they may have some more, they may slide my way in the future. I'm told that I might receive documents in the future that I can release. In the meantime, a lot of this is in the way of briefings, a lot of the information that is going back and forth. And I can actually say publicly for the first time that over the last year and a half, I've slowly been introducing people like David Wilcock, Dr. Salla, and Jordan Sather to various Alliance contacts. And some of these are generals, some of these are colonels and politicians in this country and in other countries. And I think a lot of people are wondering, how could David Wilcock and Dr. Salla believe a lot of this unconfirmed information that I'm bringing forth? And I think it's because of the people that I'm introducing them to, the cooperation that they're seeing behind the scenes, and the fact that all of the information I've given them has been confirmed through other sources of theirs, and by it matched information that they've kept secret from the public.
Well, with the Defense Intelligence Agency confirming that this list of 38 papers is genuine, and so far we know 3 of them have been leaked, 2 by Corey Goode back in December of 2017, and then 1 by George Knapp, who released that one in the middle of 2018. Now, we know 3 of the papers that deal with exotic propulsion systems, and we know that those 3 papers all involved authors associated with Earth Tech International, which is an organization that studies these kinds of exotic propulsion systems and other kinds of advanced technologies out of Austin, Texas. And it was established by Dr. Hal Puthoff back in 1985. And what's interesting here is that Hal Puthoff not only has had a long association with advanced concepts like remote viewing, but also his name has come up in association with Mars and in establishing a colony on Mars. So Earth Tech International was involved in this, and we know from someone who claims to have been a target of a recruitment effort, that is Laura Magdalene Eisenhower, the great-granddaughter of President Eisenhower. She says that she was actually targeted for recruitment, and that the organization that was really spearheading all of this was Earth Tech International, being headed by Hal Puthoff. So it's interesting that the three papers that have been released, all 3 have as their authors scientists associated with Earth Tech International. So it'll be very interesting to find out when the other 35 papers are leaked or released through future Freedom of Information Acts, which presumably is going to come about now through the Federation of American Scientists, that more of these papers will be released, and we'll find out what organizations were involved in those.
They have electrogravitic technologies that allow them to, of course, defy gravity, but they started to develop temporal drives later on that allowed them to jump around in time just as easily as they jump around in space. And that is difficult for a lot of people because we're starting to wrap our minds around the vastness of space and the fact that you can bend space around large objects, and gravitational fields can bend space, but they don't understand that time can also be bent and stretched and compressed with these same technologies. When you're traveling through space, you're traveling through time, and the faster you travel through space, the faster you go through time. And so they've developed a lot of technologies that people on this planet, if it was all disclosed at once, they would think it was sorcery. It is so hard for the mind to wrap around concepts that in the mainstream world we haven't even imagined yet, even in sci-fi. These things are real, and they've been going on for quite some time. Cosmic web. And the concept is every galaxy, every star, every planet, every planetoid has an electromagnetic connection between them. And if you look at images of the cosmic web, you will see how everything is connected by these long filaments. Well, through these filaments are how these stargates work, how they travel from star to star. And we've developed the technology to be able to open and maintain these different types of wormholes. And it's a technology that is used in certain craft that travel through the cosmic web, as well as physical locations on the planet that as the Earth rotates, they're like nodes that become active, and those regions can be used as a takeoff point into the cosmic web through these stargates. There's absolutely ET involvement, but this isn't just a story of ETs coming to us and handing us this knowledge. This is also us rediscovering our past, and we had all of this knowledge before. human beings traveled among the stars in the past. They went to great meetings with other ET groups, and there was commerce, all types of things. Like all of this type of thing was happening before the last ice age. So a lot of the mystery schools and places in Tibet and India, these old monasteries, had this information. And going back to World War II, we had Nazis and other people that were going on pilgrimages and expeditions to gather this information. And when they did, they were finding old scrolls, and you'd unroll this old scroll and look at it, and they were the schematics for building a flying saucer or a Vimana, and other technologies. So we are rediscovering the past, we are getting information from extraterrestrials, and we are innovating in the moment. And some very interesting things have been developed that I'm very hopeful will be disclosed to everybody very soon. Well, as I said, I've been talking about the cosmic web. I've been talking about how these spacecraft, how their engines work, how stargates work within the cosmic web. So they definitely corroborate my testimony. But like we said, it also sets up quite a lot for future disclosures.
What's your thoughts on Bigelow and Elon Musk? Are they part of the secret space program?
I think that these are two human beings that want to make a huge difference on this planet through innovation and developing out technologies. I think they see a lot of the barriers, but they don't understand that these barriers are something that they're not going to be able to break. They're not going to be able to travel freely in space until a lot changes, or until they sign agreements, confidentiality agreements, to where when they do go out into space, they won't report what they're seeing. I know Bigelow and Elon Musk, they both have good hearts, and I think that they're trying to disclose technologies to all of us and help innovate those to make this the utopia that it should be.
Well, the role of Robert Bigelow in the setting up of the feasibility studies going back to 2007, after they were funded by the US Congress, in particular Senator Harry Reid, who was the Senate Majority Leader. He was the one that provided $22 million in funding for these advanced technology studies to be put underway, and for other aspects of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program to be put into operation. So Harry Reid provided the funding, and he sent it to Robert Bigelow, who was basically in charge of the Bigelow space program that was being set up in Nevada to really look at developing a civilian space program. So this was something that was funded through Congress, through Robert Bigelow, and Bigelow knows a lot about some of these exotic propulsion systems that were being secretly studied in terms of their feasibility. So I think Bigelow probably knows a lot more about the secret space program. As for Elon Musk, I think he is someone that has been kind of given support for pushing conventional rocket technologies as far as possible in order to build up a much more affordable space program where civilian industries could actually go out into space. So taking it out of the hands of government and military and putting space exploration into the hands of the corporations, because I think that's going to be where the next generation of a lot of research is going to go. Unfortunately, it's going to be corporations that are going to lead the way on secret space programs, and Musk, I think, is a big part of this.
And to be clear, I don't know either one of them, but no, they are not involved in the secret space programs. They're involved in a more of a mainstream corporate drive to get us into space and to develop technologies that will make this a better world. I think that they're probably amused by stories of the secret space program, But I don't know what kind of connections they have. They could have very similar connections to me, and they could be hearing a lot of very similar things that I'm reporting, but it's just too controversial. And they're in mainstream business, and maybe they need to maintain a healthy skepticism until they see the nuts and bolts.
What's next for you, Corey, after the huge response to Above Majestic?
Yes. Not only that, as we're outlining the information out, it looks like we've got at least 5 sequels. So yeah, lots more to come. We're developing a couple of sequels right now to Above Majestic, and we hope to be in production very soon. We've been working on doing a Hollywood movie since, I believe, the end of 2016, so this shouldn't be any shock to people. But we have been making a lot of really positive steps, is all I can really say, towards beginning production of the movie. It would be a huge blockbuster movie with lots of special effects, of course. And I see this as a way of not only getting this information out to the mainstream. You know, the cabal groups have used Hollywood to disseminate bad information into our consciousness. If we can sneak some disclosure into some sci-fi, it could be pretty interesting. I might be able to get in real depictions of real spacecraft in this movie. So the Alliance is excited about the possibilities. We're excited, and I will definitely come back and talk to you when I know more about that, because it's going to be very exciting.